Hey friends, today I am back with my Sony a7S III camera rig, and today I want to just take a moment to revisit, to re-talk about, just to re-go over the Portkeys LH7P monitor. I dropped an initial initial use case, initial review. I don't really know if you'd call it a review, more like an overview of my first day using it a couple weeks ago, and honestly, some opinions have changed. I've kind of had a change of heart and kind of want to re-talk about it just a little bit more. Now, my opinion on off-camera monitors or on-camera monitors, whatever you want to call them, are pretty much still the same. They didn't change at all. They still all kind of equally stink in my opinion. But this Portkeys monitor, I've been kind of learning to love it a little bit more. So a couple things that I want to just go over, just go over off the bat. This has changed the way that I shoot full wedding days, slightly. Mainly for the fact that because the camera control, number one, because the monitor takes about 15 seconds to start up, which is incredibly long time, and the camera control is a little bit finicky to make sure it's connected and get it connected, I do not turn my camera off at all anymore on a wedding day until this small rig 99 watt hour V-mount battery dies. And typically with these, I run 2 all day long. So this battery will get me from the getting ready in the morning, say around 10 or 11 a.m., all the way up until about 6 p.m., 7 p.m. into just the beginning of reception, end of cocktail hour. And then this battery will be toast. I'll change it out for another 99 watt hour V-mount battery, and then that will get me all the way through the exit. And most of the time I leave a wedding on my second V-mount battery with probably about 50%, 60% in there. So I don't turn my camera off until the battery dies. And then when I do, I replace that battery and then turn on the monitor, turn it all, get it reset up, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the night. So over the last, I think probably 5 or 6 weddings that I've worked with the LH7P monitor, it's been great. The first wedding, there was some connectivity issues and I couldn't really figure out how to get it reconnected. Other than that, it's been fantastic and it's been connected every wedding that I've used it at since, and even some other different corporate events. So that's kind of weird, right? I'm very used to, oh, stop for a moment, turn the camera off. Oh, turn the camera back on, start recording. Okay, cool. Turn the camera off, set it down, pick it back up. But I just don't turn it off anymore. And it's not a big deal, to be honest. If you're running a V-mount setup like this, it's not a big deal to leave your camera on because your battery life doesn't matter as much. However, if you're running internal batteries and you're changing batteries 3 or 4 times a day and you're constantly turning your camera on and off, this Portkeys monitor would be very annoying to work with. So with that, I just want to kind of go through, show you the startup process and getting it connected. So right now, camera's on. We've got power to the monitor via the V-mount battery with just this barrel connection cable. And I'm going to turn the on switch on now. So on switch is on, and then we will wait a couple 100,000 seconds and let's see if this can get turned on. Oh, there we got some screen going. Okay, not quite started up yet, but we're on. Here we are. Well, wasn't too bad. I don't really know exactly how long that is. However, that's just step 1. When you first turn it on, you just get a clean image of your HDMI feed. Step 2 in that is actually connecting it to the camera. So we're going to tap once on the screen. We're going to go to camera, and now we're going to go to my device, and then you can click on A7S III. Now, something I also do on the camera, not sure if it actually works, but I go into the remote shooting function, click remote shooting, click on the Wi-Fi direct info, and then it pulls up all of the Wi-Fi direct info. And to me, that has made this process of connecting to the camera a little bit quicker. Now it still says connecting, please wait. And now we see our settings on the screen. So that worked really well. Now we can go through and close. And now I have all of my settings, my shutter speed, the iris, my white balance, ISO values, everything right there on the screen. So that wasn't too long of a setup. It might be dramatic to be like, oh my gosh, it takes so long. But on a wedding day, when you are go, 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 I sometimes don't have that amount of time to turn on the monitor, wait 10 seconds, monitor kicks on, then go through the settings, connect to the camera. And part of me is that because the first wedding day I ever used this, I was just, I couldn't get it to connect back to the camera. And so I just want to leave it connected all day long. Now, a couple things that I love, actually the main thing that I love is just showing your settings on the monitor. This is not something you get in a lot of monitors. This is not something you get in a lot of like monitors like this. Most of the time you just have a clean HDMI out. You can't see your settings, or you're looking at your little side screen trying to see if you're recording or not. I love the fact that when I click record, all 4 bars, or the bars, show up on the left and the right side that show you're recording. Your audio levels are showing up on the left and right hand side as well. You can see what shutter speed you're at. You can see what ISO value you're at. You can see where your aperture is, and you can see your white balance numbers. Now, a little finicky thing that I haven't quite figured out with the white balance is I use a lot of autofocus on this camera. And if you say, let's hold the thumb dial down and like autofocus in the center, your white balance when you're doing that just auto detects to auto white balance. And then if you let off of your focus, it reverts back to your Kelvin values. Kind of annoying, but it's not a big deal. It's kind of weird filming and looking at that and going, oh shoot, am I in auto white balance? But you're really not. So overall, I've really enjoyed the camera control functionalities of this monitor. And the main thing that I've enjoyed, I don't even care too much that I can click on the monitor to change my shutter speed, or I can click on the monitor to change my ISO value, or I can click on the, I don't do a lot of that. It's not necessary the way I shoot, because 100% of the day, I've got this camera right here mounted to my chest. I've got this hand underneath, working the zoom around, kind of figuring out where I want my focus. And then this hand is on this back of this camera, going ISO, aperture, shutter speed, white balance changes. All of those changes are happening on this hand, on this camera anyways, because it's ingrained in my brain of that's how I want to do it. And the best thing about this monitor is I can just see exactly where my camera is, instead of pulling the camera out, looking at this tiny screen, making sure this tiny screen is right, and then getting back into position to film. So it's mainly just having those numbers there, not so much actually controlling the camera with the monitor. To me, just having those numbers there, a heads-up view, a heads-up display, a hey, here we are, on that full 7-inch screen is fantastic. Now, side note there, I know what you're probably thinking, Ross, if you don't care about that and all you want to do is just see all of your info on your monitor, why don't you just turn on HDMI info display and then all of your Sony information goes directly to your monitor? It's a great question. I'll tell you exactly why I'm not going to do that. Because I still use, every now and then, that tap to autofocus feature where I will tap on somebody's face on this screen, grab their eye, and it'll track their eye throughout. I use this a lot for the pre-sessional during ceremony. I'll tap on a bridesmaid's face as she walks down the aisle. I'll tap on the next groomsman's face as he walks down the aisle. I use this feature for sometimes first dances where I want to just stay focused on the bride and groom dancing. Or there's a couple different places that I use this feature. If you turn HDMI info display off, you lose that feature entirely. That plus HDMI info display is hella ugly. It puts these big black bars all the way around your monitor. It turns your 7-inch monitor into a 4-inch monitor. It turns your 5-inch monitor into a 3-inch monitor. The UI looks terrible. It's just kind of not great. So with this, I have just been loving just the fact that these are on here. And as well as in the top right-hand corner, I'll try to show you this as well. But if you tap the top right-hand corner, you get to show your camera battery here, your monitor battery here, what the camera battery's at, what the monitor battery's at. And now, because I run USB-C into the camera all day long, the camera typically stays at 100%, but every now and then I'll bump this cable and the camera will come unplugged. And I love that I can see my camera battery in the top right of the monitor because, hey, if the camera battery starts to deplete, I know, oh, maybe my cable's not plugged in all the way. Maybe my USB-C cable's not in there. So overall, I think that's 7 or 8 different events that I've worked with this setup now with the LH7P monitor. And honestly, as far as monitors go, it's the best I've ever worked with. Now, I know there's some comparisons in the comments of the image quality might not be the best compared to a small HD setup. I get that. I understand that. I know that the image quality on this monitor is not going to be the image quality that is perfect out of the camera. I know there might be a slight color shift. I know there might be there might be some banding that you see in the monitor, but it's just a reference monitor. You're not color grading off of this. You're not like dialing in exact settings. I know my camera pretty well, and I know the colors and I know the things that I'm gonna get out of it. And so I'm using this monitor for reference. I'm using it for framing. I'm using it for seeing my settings. And then when I get back to the computer, that's when I can dive in on the editing. And that's when I care about seeing banding or seeing anything perfectly the way it is, because that's typically the way it is. So I don't even know if this video is helpful at all. It's just kind of an LH7P overview, a little rewind, if you will, a little, hey, I am a wedding videographer. I've been using the LH7P for the past 7-ish weddings now, couple different corporate interviews as well. And I've been really loving just the workflow with it, being able to see my settings on the screen, being able to just work with it directly and almost completely bypass my Sony monitor screen on the actual camera when I'm working, except for that tap to focus, which you can also do on the monitor. So I hope this is helpful. I know there's been some encouraging comments in the past on different videos and things like that. So if you got a question, drop a comment below. I am on YouTube basically 24/7. So anytime you comment, I get those notifications. I don't have too many subscribers, so I've always got time to respond to every comment. So if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, drop a comment down below. And if you have anything else that you'd love me to talk about, I know a recent comment wanted to know about the cabling that I'm running for this run and gun setup. And I'm probably gonna do a video about that soon because I love a nice clean setup like this that it just works and it looks good. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down below. I would appreciate the subscribe. We're just trying to grow a YouTube channel, trying to teach the world a little bit about videography. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. See ya.